Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome back to another edition of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. I'm your host, Ken M. Sitting across me this week is the one, the only, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we got a lot to discuss. Let's waste no more time. Hashtag it up, ODPHEE, if you want to join in the conversation, because, hey, we want to hear from you on social media. Biggest news story of the week had to be the shocking news that Iron Fist, one of Marvel's Netflix shows, has been canceled.
Yeah, this was like completely out of left field, getting sucker punched when this came down.
Yeah, because the reception from Iron Fist Season 2, albeit it wasn't gangbuster by any means.
Right, it wasn't like everyone's glowing praises.
No, but it wasn't Inhumans either.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination.
No.
They made enough improvements from Season 1 to 2 that I thought it warranted the third season nod.
Yeah.
And they did leave the show thinking they were going to be going to Season 3 if you watched Season 2's finale.
Yeah.
I am actually very disappointed because I know the Brubaker Fraction story was the one they were leading into from their run.
Right.
We may not see it as of yet. So, Pat, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm a little surprised by it. I did enjoy parts of Season 1. It wasn't the best in the world, but I did enjoy parts of it. Season 2 was an improvement. It made steps in the right direction. And I was very interested to see where they went from there. So to see it canceled on Netflix and kind of the future of it up in the air, I'm a little disappointed.
I am too. This one was really a left field, news story because this was not on the radar by any means.
No.
We never really heard that any of the Marvel Netflix shows were in immediate danger of cancellation.
Right, and when it comes to Netflix shows, in terms of like whether they renew it for a season or not, they're very cagey about it. Like, you don't hear rumors. It's not like regular TV where with like CBS, NBC, ABC, or any of the other network televisions where you'll hear rumors or rumblings of, they might not last through the season. They might, whatever. Netflix, it's usually like you'll hear about it getting renewed when they announce it, or you'll hear it's canceled when they announce it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you really did not have any idea that this was really coming.
No.
Albeit, though, it was interesting to see that it was. There's no question of that because, like I said, they did enough improvements from Season 1 to 2 that I thought, okay, maybe we're stepping in the right direction. We finally got it right.
And I remember from the first season, the general reaction from people was very skewing negative. It wasn't like 100% negative, but it was very much skewing on the negative side of the scale. But with this season, I'd say it was leaning more positive where, like I said before, nobody was glowing its praises and standing from the top of Mount Everest saying, you should watch this show. No, they were saying, hey, it's a good improvement.
Yeah, and to see where it goes from here, I know it's been canceled and it's not going to be on Netflix in its current form incarnation.
Yeah.
But where do you think it goes from here?
See, I know you brought this up in a group text. They might roll some of it into future seasons of other shows, which I could see if it works. Don't shoehorn it in just to get the story out. If it works, great. If it's like turning it into Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire where you've got like 4 stories going at the same time, no, don't do it. I think the other obvious option would be the Disney streaming service when that launches next year.
I think it's going to be one of two things, as Pat just elaborated on it. I think it will probably find a home on the Disney streaming service. Mm-hmm. Now, it depends on the direction the streaming service wants to go in.
Right.
Because they typically stay away from, I don't want to say Iron Fist was a more mature show, but in comparison to most of your MCU stuff.
If I had to give it maybe a video game rating, because that's the one coming immediately to mind, it's an M-rated game. It's for mature. It's, 16, 17 and up, you can play those games, but not exactly for teenagers.
Right. So I could see it wind up there, and I think that there could be a strong push for it to go there because, one, you already have an established audience from Iron Fist that would follow the show to the streaming service, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And two, I think that Marvel, if they don't want to quit on the show, and they really have faith in the show's direction, I think they do give it the final send-off and don't leave it on a cliffhanger ending.
And plus, I think the thing when Disney launches their streaming service, what they're going to put on that service is yet to be determined. Obviously, anything they own will probably be on there. But I think the thing they're going to want to come out the gate swinging on is original content. Now, obviously they're going to have original content on there. The new season of Star Wars, The Clone Wars, is going to be on there. So it's already established they're going to have their own stuff on there. But they're going to want to come out the gate swinging on this stuff. So that means they're not going to want to wait for the service to start and go, hey, guys, our new streaming service is up. It's got all these old movies and TV shows you want to watch, but you got to wait 6 months to a year before new stuff and new TV shows start getting added.
I think the easiest comparison we can make with that point is if you look at the DC universe.
Yes.
That the DC universe has had a lot of older programming on, but now it's coming out with DC Titans, which is the first of their live action exclusive programming.
Yeah.
So I think that the DC Marvel streaming service is going to do the same thing. So I could see Iron Fist going there, or what I'm banking on more so is that Netflix is going to eventually roll out a Heroes for Hire series.
Okay.
And I think where this will fall in line with, as I've said on previous episodes, I think the Daughters of the Dragon, Colleen Wing and Misty Knight, deserve their own series by themselves. But if Marvel wants to group them with Danny Rand and put everybody under the umbrella of Heroes for Hire,
right,
I could tolerate it. I think it'd be a good idea. But like I said, I think I'd rather see Daughters of the Dragon first, then do Heroes for Hire.
I mean, the other thing this kind of clears up is the confusing story that came out a couple weeks ago. I know we didn't talk about it on here, but I know I brought it up to you. A couple weeks ago, astute, eagle-eyed internet browsers noticed that the Marvel Defenders Facebook page had changed names from Marvel the Defenders to NX on Netflix, if I'm getting that right. Essentially what it is it's like a social media platform, profile, whatever you want to call it, where they promote their comic stuff, their sci-fi stuff, their supernatural stuff, their anime stuff. So it's like for that side of the internet. And people are like, wait, why are you... Because people got notifications in their Facebook saying, Marvel's the Defenders is now known as NX on Netflix, and everyone's going, wait, why are you changing fate? So with the cancellation of Iron Fist, that kind of lends credence to, okay, why did they change it? Well, if they don't have Iron Fist anymore, they might not be doing it.
No, that's one thing I think is with the streaming service is going to start generating more noise. I think you might see a transition from certain characters and the Netflix MCU over to the Disney streaming service in some capacity.
Yeah.
Because if they're not going to do Defenders, which that's perfectly fine, they don't need to.
No.
Where do they go from here? So albeit if they're going to make this slow transition and bring those characters over into whatever might become the Disney streaming universe, I guess.
Right.
Then that's your telltale sign that if they're going to get away from the Defenders. And I don't know exactly what happens, who's going to stay and who's going to go.
Right.
Because you still have Luke Cage, which is doing very well.
Right, and we were all sorry to interrupt you, we were all under the assumption or belief that even with the Disney streaming stuff coming, that Netflix was going to keep it. And at least that's what all the outside signs were pointing to.
That's the last I've heard.
Yeah.
But if they've already canceled Defenders and they just haven't made it public, but obviously with the change of the social media accounts, and they've canceled Iron Fist, you have to wonder, okay, what's staying and what's going. So that being said, unless they're going to roll out a new team, and like I said, the Heroes for Hire idea I think is going to be the one that's going to generate the most buzz, and it makes the most sense with the current roster of heroes you have.
Sure.
Not to say it's going to be, but if I had to guess, and if Netflix wants to keep the Marvel Universe team idea intact, that's the one you go with. Unless you do it under the Marvel Knights banner, because I know it's the anniversary year of Marvel Knights now.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want to do with that. But that really wasn't like an official team. That was just more of an imprint at the time. So in closing with that, I got to think that Iron Fist is still going to be prevalent in the MCU Netflix universe, albeit as we're going to be rolling into talking about Daredevil, which is finally coming back to Netflix this week as we're recording. Iron Fist played a big part in that storyline.
Yeah.
Because as we remember from how Defenders ended, Matt Murdock passed the mantle of the Defender of Hell's Kitchen to Danny Rand.
Right.
So that being said, Iron Fist is still going to be prevalent. And I thought it was kind of interesting on the social medias, too, that Iron Fist, immediately after the cancellation came out, they had pictures up with, Danny Rand, Finn Jones as Danny Rand, with Immortal written on the poster.
Right. Well, I guess that's, if I understand right, that whole thing, because they even posted a link on all their social media stuff saying the story's not over. And it was a link to like Marvel's online store with like a book they got upcoming or something. I'm not sure how TV contracts work out. It's not like, the Marvel movie stuff where, Sebastian Stan signed on for 9 movies and Chris Evans signed on for X. I'm not sure how it works for TV stuff. While Iron Fist as a TV show is canceled, I'm sure if they called up Finn Jones and goes, hey, we're doing season whatever of Luke Cage and we need you for a couple episodes, you willing to do it? Finn Jones will be like, yeah, sure. Okay, when do you need me?
Yeah, I think his character is still going to be prevalent in the shows. Whether he has his own solo show again, to be determined. I mean, I could honestly just see him being a side character because he does play better off of other characters. Yeah. Iron Fist has only been really great as a solo superhero in certain runs, albeit, like I said, the Brubaker and Fraction run is incredible. And that if you read that, you go, okay, I can see how this show could work. But I think for what they're going to be looking at, if he's going to stay on Netflix, is he's going to be part of a team, whether it's him doing a show with Luke Cage and do the whole Power Man Iron Fist again, or do Heroes for Hire. I think that's how you see him.
I'm just spitballing here, and I'm thinking off the top of my head, do you think they could be setting up for a thing where they get to a point where they're not necessarily doing the same characters every year, where, okay, you got a year where they do Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, and maybe somebody new. And then when they cycle to the next year, okay, well, we did Daredevil last year, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, and Person 4. Next year, it's all different people.
Maybe. I think a lot is going to have to deal with how the Marvel, Disney, Fox deal goes through, because as we are recording, the deal has been told it will be finalized January 1st, 2019.
Finalized January 1st. The current update is that there is it's basically in the EU at this point. It's been approved by regulators in the United States. Essentially, to get into a little deep dive, not even a deep dive on this, basically with the deal, it's got to get approved by every market it's going to be, they're going to show movies on the planet. So it's basically like every country in the world, essentially. Currently, it is sitting in the European Union to get approved, and they've got a process. You can dig more. You can find articles about this online, but essentially they're gathering opinions from people about why it should or shouldn't happen. The earliest you're looking at hearing about anything from the European Union approval is like November 11th.
Right. So I would say, though, for all intents and purposes, the deal will be done in January.
Yeah.
So that could clear up some space if Netflix wanted to get one of those characters from the Fantastic Four X-Men universe into their own show. Remains to be seen if that's the case. But I think for Iron Fist, and closing with the segment, I think that the show being canceled was a very surprise move. Yeah. On a lot of different aspects. Because one, we've never seen a Netflix Marvel show officially be canceled. Right. Defenders has been heavily rumored. Two, he plays such a part in the other shows, albeit more so Luke Cage than Daredevil, but he's still connected in that show. So if they're going to tie him in to stories in the future, what does that mean? And then three, with the streaming service coming, does that mean that slowly Marvel is going to be moving their heroes from point A to point B from Netflix to their own streaming service?
Could be.
There's a lot of different ways to play it out. But like I said, if you have to ask me my gut instinct, I think you're going to see a Heroes for Hire show.
Probably.
And I think that you're going to see Finn Jones on there as Danny Rand once again.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure where they're going to go from here in terms of like the future team up show, but I do bank on the fact that you have not seen the last of Finn Jones as Danny Rand.
But let us know what you think. Hashtag it up, ODPHE. What's your thoughts on Iron Fist getting canceled? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Come back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and we finally got around to seeing Venom. We are going to be talking spoilers.
So you've been warned.
Yeah, exactly, but Venom has been doing very well at the box office.
Yeah, as we record, it has grossed over $107 million total worldwide. Number 2 is, of course, A Star is Born with $66 million and change.
Right. So when Venom came out, there was a lot of mixed reaction out the gate. The reviews were not the best.
Yeah.
So we will give you our official ODPH review.
Yes.
So we are talking spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk. Pad, my thoughts on the film was it wasn't great. It wasn't awful.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of stuff that I thought was just kind of thrown together. I think the easiest way to describe it is the first third of the movie, they're trying to explain Eddie Brock and his character, but they're kind of just doing a really quick cut and paste job.
Okay.
That you don't really see in comparison to the comics. Like, that in the comics, Eddie Brock is a reporter at the Bugle.
Right, yeah.
And Spider-Man, Peter Parker exposes him for, making up a story, I believe, or he did something that discredits Brock, which was fully entailed. And then when the spider symbiote catches up with Eddie Brock, he feeds off his anger, thus becoming Venom, taking on kind of, really just feeding off Eddie Brock's emotions. In this one, you see Brock in this incarnation is a TV reporter.
Yep.
Kind of has his own, I want to say almost like a YouTube show, but he's on a network and he's doing like investigative reporting, and he's, really kind of not, I don't want to say he's as angry as the comics version.
No, yeah.
He's kind of more, I want to say normal. Like, it's weird to say, but
So yeah, Eddie Brock and normal, not normally a sentence you'd use.
Right, but he's very, not angry at the world like the comics version was at the time where he meets the symbiote. So as we're going into that, he's investigating Carlton Drake, who's the founder of the Life Foundation. And he's really kind of telling that something's not right, and that Drake has been trying to do some stuff that is just not exactly on the up and up. And his boss, Brock's boss at the TV station, tells him, don't go pressing about this, just cover,
So as you see in TV and movies.
Yes, and of course when Brock does, he gets fired.
Yep.
And at this point, he breaks into his, at the time, his girlfriend, played by Michelle Williams, her laptop getting information on Drake. And then he decides to bring it up to him. So she winds up breaking up with him because Brock gets her fired. So it's just kind of like a snowball that just really doesn't take a lot of time to develop.
Yeah.
Like, everything's good first 10 minutes and then it goes bad like immediately after.
It's like, I remember seeing the movie, and what kind of threw me is it reminded me of something, and I was like, I can't think of what it's reminding me of. It's almost reminding me a little bit of, Elektra and Ben Affleck, Daredevil, where good setup, interesting start, not real good afterwards.
No, the story just kind of seemed rushed.
Yeah.
I guess that's the easiest way I can politely describe it.
Yeah.
Is just, it really kind of did not give you enough of like an emotional reaction to get into the character.
Right. And to me, this goes back to, like we've said before, Venom's origin story and so much of his history is integral with Spider-Man. Like, from how he came about to half the crap he does in the comics is because of Spider-Man. I mean, you go, even in various forms of media that he's been in, the cartoon, video games. I mean, I remember the Ultimate Spider-Man video game where literally the entire game is like him chasing after Spider-Man trying to kill him.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just still odd to see that. I'm not opposed to seeing a Venom movie. Like, Venom is a very intriguing, very cool character. He's one of the better villains they've created over the years. He stands out above a lot of villains for me. But to me, what throws me is, okay, we're going to do it. It's almost like something you'd see in the 90s. It's like, okay, hear me out. We're going to do, I'll use Batman as an example. We're going to do a Penguin movie with Danny DeVito, but no Batman.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's just the pacing of it and the writing was just really messy.
Do you think it could have maybe used another set of eyes to come in and kind of look at it?
I think so, because I think they were trying to cram too much into this film. And I think that they were really trying to establish, like, we can do this without Spider-Man, and we're just going to really...
It's almost like they were trying to prove themselves, and, like, the rose-colored glasses were really shaded rose there.
Yeah, because the problem is the supporting cast around Tom Hardy, I mean, for what they had to work with, it just kind of felt like it was just so rushed that there wasn't enough time to develop the characters.
Right, and Tom Hardy's a great actor.
And Tom Hardy did great in this film. I would say if there's one thing that you can take away with being a Venom fan or a Spider-Man fan, Tom Hardy did an excellent job when he got the symbiote and became Venom.
Right, and Tom Hardy's not on a level of, say, Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Pratt. People know the name.
Mm-hmm.
They might not know the face, but they know the name. But I mean, it really speaks to how good an actor is in roles he's done, where you look back at Dark Knight Rises when he played Bane. I mean, that movie came out how long ago? And you can still hear people using the Bane voice. You know, I was born in the dark. You know, it just speaks to how good he is.
Yeah, no, he did an excellent job. And like I say, for moving forward with it, because I was pretty sure they're going to do a sequel, obviously, with how successful it's been at the box office.
And certain post-credit scenes.
Right, which we'll get into a little later in the segment. I honestly feel that they're going in the right direction with him.
Right.
But I think for what they were trying to do with the script, especially without Spider-Man involved, it's a little tough. It's not to say it couldn't have been done, but I think it could have been cleaned up a little better and a little more streamlined, that you would get the emotional connection when you watch a character, that you would kind of say, okay, I get where his motivation is. I get where, you know, the antagonist is coming from. I get where the supporting cast is. Mm-hmm. But it just kind of seemed like everything felt so rushed that there just wasn't that time to buy into it, because as the movie is progressing, Carlton Drake is moving so quickly with the symbiotes that you don't really exactly know what his true motivations are. And it's just kind of, you have an idea, but it wasn't enough that you're going, okay, because it's just the time spaced out. And one little flaw that I found that they said in the movie is at some point that the symbiote eventually kills its host.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing I didn't understand is from where the how the symbiotes get to Earth. Mm-hmm. I believe in the astronaut crash, they had, I believe it was in like Malaysia.
Yeah,
and then,
I think so.
But suddenly, whoever gets the symbiote of Riot winds up lasting until they get over to
that's convenient,
to San Francisco, which I'm just going, okay, well, if that's the case, then how is this happening? Because as you're seeing throughout the movie, Drake is having subjects become involved and he's experimenting to see who can survive with the symbiote, and going from there. And that's how Eddie Brock is doing more investigations, and then he winds up, you know, allegedly being trapped with Venom, but he winds up surviving. And then that's where the movie really picks up. So you kind of have like the first third of the movie that you're just like, I don't know.
Okay, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, it's just like, wait, hold up. Like, where is this all motivation coming from? Like, I don't understand the characterization. But once they get Venom with Eddie Brock, that's where the movie really takes off. And then you kind of now see when he's getting his powers, he doesn't know what's going on. And you kind of see the connection that they're now having. And you almost get the motivation that this Venom is a lot different than the comics Venom.
Yeah.
Because even at one point you hear him say, I was a loser on my planet, and I sense you're a loser. So now we can actually be something. So he's almost feeding into his memories and his emotions. And that's where you're kind of seeing, okay, now I understand why Venom is connecting, because Venom is trying to be something that he's never been. He's trying to be somebody.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see he's trying to buy into Eddie Brock, who's trying to be somebody after he's had his fall from grace. So it's like, okay, now I get it. Now,
sure.
All right, this is starting to make sense. But as it's going forward, Carlton Drake's hunting Eddie Brock down because he wants the symbiote back. It's now turning into a nice, cool action sequence, which I thought they did very well.
Yeah.
But then going into the end of the film, it just kind of seemed like it was a bit rushed at the end. And then like suddenly you find out like the true intentions of Riot the symbiote, and then where it goes from there. And then the only other thing that I really didn't like is in the third act where Venom and Riot are fighting, and you're seeing the symbiotes break apart.
Yep.
And the CGI just looked a little cluttery.
Yeah, there was almost too much going on at once.
Yeah, it just was like, whoa, like what is going on? And not in the sense of like, well, my mind is blown. It was like, I really can't tell what's going on. There's just stuff everywhere on the screen.
I've noticed that in a couple movies over the last couple of years where like they're relying on CGI for certain sequences for obvious reasons. You can't pull it off with practical effects. And I've noticed it where like, okay, there's almost too much going on because I can start to tell what, because usually you see CGI these days that's like, oh wow, that, you know, that's incredible, that looks just like such, that looks incredible. But it's almost like, you know, it's almost like in the old days when you were playing a video game on like your PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 and there's almost too much going on and it's almost like the game starts slowing down and bugging out.
Yeah, it was just one of those weird circumstances that just watching it, and like I didn't watch it in 3D. I can imagine if I did, I probably would have. Oh, it would have been a little tougher too. But you're kind of seeing, okay, Venom is now trying to establish himself. Riot, they don't really get into the backstory of like where his rank is, I guess, of the symbiotes and what's going on and why he's the head one that's, you know, teaming up.
Probably
with
saving that for another movie.
Maybe, maybe not, because
At least for the ranking and symbiotes and other that stuff.
Well, they allude to that there's like a planned invasion in talk, and just nonsense from there. It's just like, whoa, wait, time out. Like, what's going on?
Let's say for your first movie, you're throwing a little too much here.
They were doing it because especially they didn't do it out Venom's major antagonist, which they get into after. But as the movie unfolds, obviously you see Venom finds a way to save the day, and he now establishes himself with Eddie Brock, that originally it thought that Venom did not survive the end, but sure enough he did. So now they've established the ground rules moving forward, and this is where the lethal protector comes in, the anti-hero that everybody knows, and they finish off the film very strong with that.
Yeah.
Then we get to the post-credit scene, where we finally find out who Woody Harrelson is, and shocker to nobody, he is Cletus Cassidy, he is Carnage.
Yeah, and I believe I forget the exact line, he even says something with Carnage in the line.
Yeah, he even just, I mean, if you weren't sure, he even says, as soon as I get out of this cage,
you want to see some Carnage or something like that.
You'll see the Carnage. So overall, though, Pad, what is your final thoughts on Venom?
It's all right. I mean, it's not anything like, I'm going to go rewatch several times. You know, I might pick it up on Blu-ray when it comes out. I might not. I'm not exactly, hyped over amped to rewatch it again. There's really nothing sticking out to me like when Thor showed up in Wakanda for Infinity War that, like, I want to go buy the Blu-ray when it comes out and rewatch that scene 15 times. It's all right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was a good movie in the sense of it wasn't as bad as I thought a lot of critics were saying. My one major argument was the script felt very rushed, and I think that affected the side characters and the supporting cast.
Yeah, there's definitely some plot holes in it.
There's just a lot of plot holes that just were kind of left hanging or really just felt forced in the film instead of just having a nice, good flow to it. I thought, though, when Tom Hardy finally got Venom, I could start seeing where the direction of the character was going to go. I like where that's going for the sequel.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of promise, because the one knock that I think we've heard from a lot of people is, Venom wasn't an R-rated film. It didn't need to be.
No.
It didn't need to be for this version, because
I get why you would want it, but didn't really need it.
Right, because I think a lot of people said, okay, well, this is going to be a lot like Deadpool, and not really.
No, they're apples and oranges.
Right, and for Venom, yeah, you can definitely write it as an R film if you wanted to, but you didn't really need to.
No.
But obviously for the sequel, I don't see any other way than an R film with Carnage. I think if they do anything less than an R with Carnage, you really got to question the direction they're going to go in.
Yeah.
But I think they need to. And I think that you've already established that Tom Hardy can definitely work as Venom. And I think Woody Harrelson as Carnage, I think, is going to be a great, you want to talk about a good actors to balance each other out.
Oh, Woody Harrelson's amazing.
Yeah, and I think he'll really make Tom Hardy step his game up, and I think Hardy will do the same thing for Harrelson. And I think that just between those two, I think for a sequel, I'm more excited about that than I'm the original.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be.
Yeah, because it makes a lot more sense, and just going forward with the character, if they tie him into the MCU, if they don't, and they want to try doing the Venomverse with Morbius and more, side characters of the Spider-Man universe, this had a lot of potential moving forward. That once you got past the nonsense at the beginning of the film, which, like I said, for me, that's what really soured it.
Yeah, because it almost pulls you out to a certain degree.
Yeah, I was already tuned out by the time Venom got his symbiote, and then I'm like, okay, I'm slowly getting back in and seeing how it's playing out. And granted, there were some hokey lines here and there.
Right.
And like I said,
yeah.
That was my biggest issue with it. I just thought that there was a weak script and it affected the supporting cast. But going forward, all right, for where they left the film off and where they decided, okay, we're definitely going to do Carnage, I think the potential is very high.
Yeah.
And I think that if anything, they'll learn from the mistakes of the first script and definitely really nail it home on the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But let us know what you think. Hashtag it up, ODPHEE. What's your thoughts on Venom? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is George Gatton, and you are listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition.
Coming back for segment number 3 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and finally, the Arrowverse is 4/5 back.
Yes.
We finally had the season premieres of Supergirl and Arrow after last week's Flash and Black Lightning, which Flash was good, Black Lightning was amazing.
See, for me, they're flipped. I really enjoyed Flash. I also enjoyed Black Lightning, but I think of the two, I enjoyed Flash a little bit more.
Flash, to me, just to give a quick synopsis because we got so much to talk about, I thought was good, but it didn't really have that big season premiere feel. It kind of felt like it was, you could have thrown that into season 4. It just kind of felt just very, I don't want to say generic, but it was just like, okay, I kind of see where we're going this season.
Yeah.
But
see, for me, I enjoyed it because it was setting up a lot for the season going forward while also building off the mystery of the end of last season where it's, okay, who is this girl and why in the bleep is she here? So it was setting up a lot while also not trying to swing too big too early because I feel like they've tried to do that in the past. Cough, cough, flashpoint, cough, cough. And it's kind of fallen flat. So for me, I enjoyed it just for the sheer fact of, okay, we're setting up where we're going for the season. We're laying the groundwork and we're not, we're not trying to build our roof before our ground floor is built. So, but then Black Lightning, I also enjoyed, but like for me, it just, something didn't click with it for me. I don't know what.
See, for me, I argue that is the best show of the CW DC universe.
I'll agree with you there.
Between that and Legends of Tomorrow, and I say it is a 1A, 1B dependent on the week between those two.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think that Black Lightning was changing up the stat quo.
Yes.
They definitely hit on the points of just the family drama, which they say no other CW show does.
No.
And they really were taking some chances of the direction of the characters, which I loved when they say, okay, we're not going to be like last season. This is what we're doing.
Right. They definitely take the family aspect, and it's in the forefront throughout the entire season. Unlike other shows where, the family plays an aspect of for a couple episodes or maybe part of a season, and then it kind of gets pushed into the back.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to watch moving forward. I'm super excited for the next episode.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm definitely into Flash, too. Don't get it twisted, but for me, it's like I want to see so much more from that show because, I mean, that's just how the benchmark does. But going forward, though, so they had strong premieres. Supergirl came back, and I got to say, I think out of all the DC shows, they probably had the strongest premiere.
On the surface, and I will reserve further judgment until I see more, it looks like it's getting to what I would like to see from that show. The thing I've said before in previous episodes, I want it to have like, what you see in Flash, Arrow, Legends, and even Black Lightning, where yes, there is that main overarching villain that like is working in the background and pulling strings and manipulating people to get their own ends. But at the same time, you've got some side plots, some side stories, and maybe take an episode or part of an episode and weave it in and out. And I feel like Supergirl has really lacked that. And you seem to be getting what I have been looking for I forget how many seasons now with Supergirl.
Yeah.
With this premiere.
I believe it's season 4.
Yes, that rings a bell, yeah.
So going in with that, though, I really thought they came back very strong. I mean, obviously, it's been some time since the season finale in the Arrowverse, the Supergirl, I forget what Earth it is. But either way, Superman is off planet. There's something going on, so Supergirl's been doing double duty. You see that her sister has been now the head of the DEO, and you see the direction they're going in. Brainiac 5 is there now because Wynn is in the future trying to cure Brainiac's ailment in the future timeline. Martian Manhunter has kind of stepped away and is
getting some him time.
He's learning about the world that is around him, and he's really kind of taking a step back and just kind of watching.
He's appreciating things that he hasn't had a chance to appreciate.
Right, but then you see the mysterious attackers going after the aliens, and you don't really know what's going on, and it's heavily alluded to they're working for Agent Liberty. And then you kind of see the introduction of Dreamer, who is going to be... See, this is the one thing that I didn't like about the episode. I like the character of Dreamer.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I don't like it that it almost seems like on every single Arrowverse show, we have our lead character and they have to have like a sidekick or somebody they're training.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would much rather have Dreamer just have her own story and just really kind of go from there and then tie it into Supergirl, because it almost seems like Supergirl is going to be training her.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I would kind of like with... I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's like we've already seen it with Flash and Kid Flash. And then, the elongated man. I mean, I think that's one thing that hurts Flash, is that we spend so much time developing the younger heroes that we almost lose what's track of our lead hero.
Right.
But I think, though, with Dreamer, I think they got a lot of potential to go with, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see how Kara is going to do this, because I don't think we've ever seen her character thrusted in that role.
No, it's definitely a unique take.
And it's one thing that this season I think is going to be really drawn out is their step up against Agent Liberty and the hate attacks on aliens. That is one thing that they were really touching upon too, and with their attacks that they were attacking the president of this timeline because of the Alien Protection Act, or I can't remember the exact name of it.
Yeah.
But they were really trying to attack, and they wound up exposing that the president played by Linda Carter, was an alien.
Well, and I love that little plot twist in the episode because it's genius. It's something I don't think I've ever seen on a TV show before. And I like how they also took away the trope that the Arrowverses come to use, especially with like 3 or 4 instances with Oliver, where previous seasons Oliver's almost been exposed as the Green Arrow, and he's been able to like, oh no, this is fake footage. This is doctored up. And in the news broadcast, they were like, we've had 3 people look at this. It's real. It's not doctored.
Yeah, I thought it was a very cool idea.
I was like, all right, they're taking away the trope that the writers like to use where, oh, hey, we're just going to conveniently get this disproven.
Yeah, so as it's going forward, Agent Liberty's plan is slowly developing. That we finally see, okay, he's exposed the president as being an alien. And going forward with that, I think it's going to be a nice challenge for Supergirl and her team to deal with. But I also thought one thing that was very cool was Lena Luthor's return.
Yes.
Because she's setting up something, and you don't really know what direction
she's
going.
She's a Luthor. She's never just doing things out of the goodness of her heart.
Right, which she goes out of her way to set up her own mother and tie into an associate
that's
of hers.
cold.
To get Jimmy Olsen's charges dropped, albeit now he cannot be Guardian.
Yeah.
Which I think this plays into her character, and I like the direction that she's going in.
He's going to wind up in jail. I'm calling it now.
Oh, well, he's not going to stand on the sidelines.
No,
he's just not gonna
something's going to happen to Kara or somebody he cares about, and it's like, all right, I can't just stand by.
Right, so I think it's going to be very, very interesting moving forward. So I was very happy with that, and I thought it had the strongest premiere out of all 4 shows thus far. Legends Tomorrow is next week as we're recording, so I'm waiting to see on that.
That one looks really psychedelic. No pun intended.
But it's Legends. It's American Doctor Who at its finest.
Yep.
Said it before, say it again. But then we finally had Arrow come back.
Yes.
Which had a strong episode too.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to dig into that a little bit. And as you know, we talk spoilers on the show. So if you haven't seen the episode, pause, listen to this after you get done watching, and interact with us on the social media. Because Arrow came back, and Oliver Queen was in jail.
Rocking a beard.
And has been, yeah. And he was definitely looking the role.
Yep.
That he was, finally atoning for the crimes he's done. And Ricardo Diaz has won in this aspect.
Yep.
And it was really cool to see that, Oliver is not exactly in the best light. I think this is going to add a nice dimension to the character. Felicity and William are in witness relocation. You see Wild Dog is no longer Wild Dog. He's running a gym in the Glades.
Which is weird.
It was weird, but it was like, okay, I dig this.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the fallout was going to be, because as it stands right now, there's no vigilantes in Star City. They passed the amendment that about zero tolerance for that.
Right, and Oliver's crew all has plea deals worked out where so long as you're not vigilantes, you're fine. As soon as you put the mask on again, you're arrested.
Yes, which is very interesting moving forward, because Dinah is now the captain of the Star City Police Force.
Yep.
Laurel is the DA.
They never really quite say, but yeah.
I don't know what I think of that. I really don't. I mean, it's nothing against.
I'm kind of reserving judgment until I see where they go with it.
It's nothing against the character. I just kind of go, okay, we still have 2 canaries in the same city.
Yeah.
How is this going to play out? And I don't know. That's the only thing I struggle with. But
One must die.
Well, you almost kind of wonder. It's like at some point you got to have one on the show, and then it's like, who do you get rid of?
Yeah.
And then you go. This is where the good arguments come in. So hashtag it up, ODPHEE. But throughout this episode, we do see there is a new Green Arrow in town who is masked, or at least
you can't see the face.
You can't see the face at all, and I believe there's a voice modulator, so you can't.
He's rocking the Ben Affleck voice modulator.
Right. So, and at one point he winds up saving Wild Dog, who is trying to do the right thing and save one of the students as his gym from making a very bad mistake, and now we see there is a Green Arrow back.
Yep.
And that's kind of inspiring him to say, I got to get back in action too.
Right. And of course you have Diana going, we need to arrest this guy. He could have killed you. And Wild Dog goes, well, yeah, he could have, but he didn't. He saved me, and he deliberately did that. And of course, Dinah comes back, well, that's probably because you weren't the target.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting storyline moving forward, as much as Oliver in jail and for how long they're going to keep him in. And one thing I was happy with, okay, he was still in jail at the end of the episode.
Yes.
It wasn't one of those like, oh,
it wasn't
yeah,
like
we got
Flash.
him off. Yeah. It wasn't like a Flash premiere.
Well, and the thing I loved was the description on when I was watching it on my guide was like how he's trying to keep his head down so he can get out on good behavior. And in turn, like every couple of scenes, it's like one of his former villains or arch enemies or whatever you want to call it is like in there trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And he plants a shiv on the one guy. You get to the end of the episode and it's in the jailhouse and it's like almost like the guard's like, all right, I know you got to sort some stuff out. Go ahead and do it. And he just starts beating a guy with like a 35-pound weight.
Well, it was cool to see, the old villains come back. You saw Vinnie Jones come back as Brick, Cody Rhodes come back as Samson.
Yep.
You saw Michael Jai White come back as Bronze Tiger, who I thought was killed off.
I thought so too, but I couldn't remember.
In the Suicide Squad. But it's one thing about the Suicide Squad, if you ever follow the team book, not the movie, it's one thing that somehow people wind up coming back when they don't. And people are, it's something about that. So I was happily surprised to see him come back. And then as it goes into, you find out Ricardo Diaz is still pulling strings. He tracked down Felicity rather.
Yeah.
And, luckily Felicity did not get killed.
I'll say it's concerning to me though. The episode opened with, and I think there was at least one other, if not two other instances where Oliver kept having the same dream.
Yeah, he kept.
That's a little concerning to me.
Well, it's something I think they're just building that now it's like his worst nightmare is happening, and he's living his own personal hell, which I get. I was like, you know what?
He's doing the stereotypical prisoner thing you see in movies and in TV, where he's marking off the days he's in there with a tally mark on the wall.
Mm-hmm. And as you see, after he gets told by somebody that is working for Diaz that Felicity's dead, and then once he finds out she's alive, that's when you have that scene in the jail yard.
That was amazing,
where he just establishes like, I don't give a what.
And I love how the guards were like every other instance where there was fighting going on. They're like they're jumping in there, breaking it up. This instance, they're like, all right, this needs to get sorted out.
No, every single fight scene they had on the episode, whether it was the shower fight or that
shower fight was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Arrow's choreographed fights, I mean, still top notch, still top notch. And as the episode ends, so they've kind of built that in, but they did not do any flashbacks.
No,
but they did a very unique flash forward.
Yeah, which threw me when they first started showing it, because I was like, wait a minute, we've seen everything we needed to in the past. What in the heck are we seeing?
So break down what you saw there, Pad.
Well, you saw a young adult man, probably, well, what would you say, 20s, make it to an island. And he's searching on the island. He gets trapped, and the guy cuts him down and hauls him off, and he's got him tied to like a boulder or tree, something. And who is this person he's talking to? Roy Harper.
I thought that was really interesting that they're back on Lian Yu. And we find out that is William Queen.
Yep.
Oliver's son. So they're doing a unique flash forward.
Which is throwing me, because I was convinced. Now, I know I said in previous shows I didn't think the Masked Vigilante was going to be Roy, because I'm like, it's too easy. But when I was watching the episode, I'm like, all right, he's clearly trained. He knows what he's doing. This isn't just Joe Blow looking to like take up the mantle and protect the city. I thought it might have been Roy. But then they get to the end of the episode and it's flashing forward and it's older William and talking to Roy like, oh, my dad needs job. I'm like, wait a minute. What's going on?
Yeah, I thought it was such a cool twist. And very unexpected, which kudos to the Arrow writing team.
Yeah.
Because I did not see that one coming.
No.
Immediately I thought it was the Longbow Hunters. And I'm going, nah, I don't think it is. So I don't know.
I didn't think it was a flash forward. I thought it was like, okay, here's something else that's been going on in concurrence with like, what's going on screen. And I didn't think for 1 minute that was William.
See, I couldn't tell. I honestly thought that
it never crossed my mind that was William until they said, William?
Well, it was one thing that I thought that it was very interesting to see how they were going to play it out, because I did not think they were going to try flash forward. I thought, if anything, which I know this might throw some people off, I thought it was Connor Hawke. And if you know anything about him, that he at one point was the son of Oliver Queen.
Yep.
And that's a whole different storyline and timeline. And I mean, granted, I honestly thought that that's who it was. And I'm going, wait, hold on. How are they introducing? I know he looks different than he did in the comics, but I'm like, I didn't see them doing a flash forward. And then suddenly it happens. I'm going, okay, I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. So moving forward with it, I thought they came back very strong. I mean, albeit though, it's going to be interesting to see where the side characters go.
Yeah.
Because I think of everybody that had the storyline going, I think Oliver had the strongest one.
Yeah.
And to see where Diaz, which I like seeing their action continuing, on spot on, because Diaz is still doing what Diaz does best, which is trying to take over and make his enemy's life a living hell. He's been doing that with Oliver. He doesn't seem to be slowing down.
No.
And it doesn't seem like Team Arrow, as fractured as they are, has a plan to stop him just yet. But it's going to be interesting to see, and then who the real Green Arrow is, I guess. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
This is true.
I mean, we might actually see Connor Hawke.
That could be.
We could see Manu Bennett come back as Slade, which I think would just be a little crazy. But
That'd be insane if it was Manu Bennett running around as Green Arrow.
yeah, but you don't know because he has his own book too. So
Yeah.
who knows how this is going to play out? But we want to know what you think. What was your thoughts on the Arrowverse coming back? Who had the strongest premiere? What was your thoughts on Arrow and Supergirl this week? We want to know. Hashtag it up, ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back in the final segment of this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition with those one-shots. Pat, what you got?
Well, I'd be a little remiss if I didn't talk at least a little bit about the first 2 episodes of the new season of Doctor Who. Now, of course, we briefly mentioned last week about the first episode. Second episode was this week, and I gotta say, I am loving the direction they're going with this season.
I'm with you. I think Jodie Whittaker is crushing it.
She is incredible. I don't know what it is, but it almost, maybe it's just the executive producer change, maybe a couple writer changes. It just feels like there's a breath of fresh air into the season, into the series. And I love the fact that, of course, this week it's her and her new companions, friends, whatever they are, running around on a planet, competing in a race to get to this mythical statue. And she's like, well, we don't know what it is. Show us what it looks like so we can find out what it is. It's the TARDIS. Because up until this point, TARDIS is MIA.
Right. They didn't explain it in the first episode.
Right. So first episode, TARDIS is missing. Second episode, TARDIS still ain't there. Come to find out, here it is on the planet. They go looking for it. Long story short, they end up finding the TARDIS, and she kind of uses her new sonic screwdriver to put it back into existence because something's going on where it's phasing in and out of realities and switching between times and all that. So she brings it in, and they're like, wait a minute, that's it's the old Doctor Who trope. Wait a minute, that's just a police call box.
Yeah.
Oh, you want us to all get in there? How it's the stuff you're used to if you've seen the show. But the thing I loved was the instant she opened the door and walked in, she goes to open the door and she says, sorry, I left it a bit of a mess. Which is true. Anytime the Doctor regenerates in that thing, it's a mess.
True.
And the camera kind of turns around and follows her into the new TARDIS, because with every regeneration they redo the inside of the TARDIS. I love how much it looked like Christopher Eccleston's / David Tennant's TARDIS on the inside. I love kind of like that callback to the first couple seasons of the reboot in the TARDIS. So I'm, like I said, loving where they're going with the season. Can't wait to see where they go next.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think maybe it's because Moffat's not there.
Could be.
The new producers are really making it feel different. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's not a slight to Moffat and how he did Doctor Who.
No, I enjoyed a lot of what he did. I mean, it's just the only thing I can think of is with Moffat. Okay, he'd been there 9-10 seasons or something. It just kind of felt like some of the stuff was getting rehashed, and so it's a new perspective on things.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that. It's a new perspective, and like I say, Jodie Whittaker is absolutely crushing it as the new Doctor. I mean, it's only 2 episodes in, but there's such a breath of fresh air, and it's a nice, renewed interest into the Doctor.
And I love how they're handling the fact that the Doctor is a woman for the first time, and they're just not like skirting around it. It's like when she's trying to bring the TARDIS back into their plane of existence, and she's got the sonic screwdriver pointed at it, and she goes, come to Daddy, come to Mama, come to whatever, just come on.
Yeah. I thought it was a nice play, and like I said, I think they're handling it very well, and I'm very excited about the new season. I can't wait to see where they go with this.
Yeah.
So I got a couple different one-shots. The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think season 9 has been good.
Yeah.
I think it really has, but the ratings have not.
No.
The ratings are dipping around 5 million, which is a drop, like a huge drop from seasons past. And it's something that I don't know what the direction of the show. I think that obviously with the announcement of Rick Grimes being killed off or leaving,
they're
Andrew Lincoln leaving.
They're advertising it every week.
Yeah, which I'm looking at going like, okay, maybe this was not the best idea.
No.
Because now people are thinking, oh, Rick is gone, so why should I watch the show?
Well, I think that might be part of it. I think also part of it is in response to the reception last season got, where it was all-out war, aka all-out fighting, nonstop fighting. So a lot of people got turned off by that, and in turn, they're like, you know what? I'm done.
Well, I think there's been a telling sign since Glenn was killed off.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the mainstream audience that used to watch it really did not handle that well.
And you see that a lot with TV shows that are popular over the years, where once you start hitting a certain point, you know, other stuff comes on, other stuff happens, and they just kind of fade away. I mean, I look at Big Bang Theory, where for a lot of years they advertised, the number one rated comedy on television, or whatever that is. But they hit a certain point where like, okay, they're not really advertising it that way anymore.
Right.
You know, you look at it like that. I think Walking Dead is in the same boat where, okay, yes, they were going neck and neck with Sunday Night Football, if not beating them some weeks. I think it's just a product of, like you said, the Glenn thing happening and that annoying a lot of people and turning them off, the nonstop fighting last season, and then just the fact that it's season 9.
And I would also throw in the death of Carl.
Yeah.
That I think that for fans of the show that have grown up with these characters, to see him gone.
Right.
And then I think the telling sign is when they said, okay, Andrew Lincoln's leaving, we're killing off Rick Grimes. At least I think all signs are pointing in that direction.
Yeah.
That I don't think it's been I thought I was hearing, though, at New York Comic Con that they did say that he was officially going to be killed off.
I'm not sure it's been officially confirmed because I've seen a couple speculation articles about how he could come back after season 9. Yeah. So I don't know if it's been officially confirmed. That's kind of, I think, what everybody's running with.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure. I'm having a blank moment right now as we're recording.
I'll say, because correct me if I'm wrong, in the comics, didn't they try and do something with one of the characters? I'm blanking on their names, where they just tried to, hey, we're going to stay here and not go with you guys. We're just going to live our lives in this house. And they ended up getting killed off.
Possibly. I believe it actually might have been Morgan.
Yeah, you're right. I think so.
I think at one point, there's just been so much between the comics and the shows. I mean, hey, we're getting confused. And like you say, it's been 9 years of the dead. Now, where do they go from here? And obviously, I think people are tuning out, which, I mean, I think is unfortunate because I think this season, for 2 episodes in,
it's been incredible.
It's been good. It's been really good.
I got to say, I love the slow burn schism that's building between Rick and Daryl, and how this isn't something new that's happening. You even saw it in the episode where, you know, they were building this bridge to get to between the 3 towns, you know, and there's fights because not everyone's getting along. It's water and oil, which is to be expected. And, you know, there's this plan they're doing. They're trying to keep the walkers away, and the plan goes sideways in the worst way possible. Come to find out, all the battery in the walkie-talkie wasn't charged, and Daryl beats the you-know-what out of the guy who screwed up. Rick pulls him off, and Daryl and him get into a heated argument, and Daryl walks off. And Carol goes, well, hey, you should go talk to him. And Rick basically goes, yeah, no, this isn't anything new. I forget what exactly he said, but it's been happening for a while.
Well, the one thing they haven't done a good job with, and note what I said, they have not done a good job with, is explaining the time jumps.
Yeah. They're hinting at it, and they're kind of lightly touching on it, but...
Well, no, they say it because between episode 1 and episode 2 of this season, there's been, what, a 5-month gap?
Yeah, something like that.
It's like, I think if they said 5 months ago or something in the beginning, I think that would help.
Yeah.
So, because it's a little confusing, because you're kind of going, okay, we're doing all this crazy jumping.
Right.
Well, what's going on and how's this setting up? And I think that's just confusing as a viewer. That's just really
because unless you're really astutely paying attention, you're going to miss it. Yeah.
So I mean, moving forward though, the season has been good thus far. It's unfortunate that the ratings haven't, and I hope that this is not the swan song for it because like I said, I think they go to season 10 and I think they're done after that.
I think the same thing. I think they give them one more season, write it the ending how they want, because Robert Kirkman has said he has an ending in mind for it. I can imagine he might take that because I think the ending, if I'm not mistaken, is for the comics. He has in mind. I can imagine he might take that ending, adjust it for how the show ending would be, and let him write the finale.
It's going to be interesting to watch moving forward. And for the final one shot of this week, Daredevil returns to Netflix. We've talked about it. So what is the final word for Netflix?
Kingpin,
Daredevil.
excited, enough said.
I got to agree. Kingpin, Born Again. We have confirmation Bullseye is in it. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they explain his story because Elektra is not in this.
Nope.
So I have an idea who's not going to make it out of this season.
Uh-oh.
There's going to be a few people.
Uh-oh.
And I think this is going to be a nice change to the stat quo. But the one thing we have heard is there's no cameos from any other Marvel, Netflix, MCU heroes.
Yes.
This is going to be just straight up Daredevil versus the Kingpin for Hell's Kitchen. You're going to really see Born Again. You're going to see elements of a few other stories. I wouldn't doubt you see Kevin Smith's run tied into this.
Could be.
You're not going to see Mysterio.
No.
Which I am talking spoilers for that if you haven't read that book, because Kevin Smith's run on Daredevil was very, very excellent. It's under Marvel Knights, as we were talking about earlier. But I think you're going to see elements of that in play, but you're not going to see Mysterio. But you are going to see Daredevil versus Bullseye. You're going to see Bullseye earn his name, and he is going to take a character out. I have an idea who it is. If it's not Elektra, I think you might know who I'm referring to. So hopefully I'm wrong, because I do love that character.
Yeah.
But if it is, it is, as long as it makes sense in the story. And everything we've heard thus far for Daredevil Season 3 has been nothing but amazing. Reviews are slowly coming in, and they're saying it's return to basics. It is great. We will have a full review of that next week's episode.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that, but definitely check it out on Netflix this weekend.
And one more bit of news. The first DLC for Marvel's Spider-Man video game on PS4 comes out this coming Tuesday. I'm blanking on the exact name of it, but I know it's Black Cat themed. So it's a whole story, and they're adding 3 suits to the game with that. So if you have Spider-Man and PS4 and haven't beaten it, well, what the heck is wrong with you? Get to the end of it. It's incredible. And then get the DLC. I know I will.
Pat's going to be all on top of that.
Yeah, I am.
So before we close out this week, we just want to give a programming update. We are hoping to get one more cosplayer in for the month of Costober by the end of the month, but we have some scheduling issues going on. But we definitely want to give a shout out to Scott Dixon and Mike Blakesley for dropping by and talking cosplay, because the reaction has been great on social media. We appreciate hearing the feedback from all of the listeners out there. And we're going to try getting one more in by the end of the month, so stay tuned for that. And as you're listening to the ODPH network, we have a special surprise this week. Horror Zone 607 is going to be doing their debut episode on the ODPH network. Now, if you've heard Mike C. from formerly I Am Horror, he's now rolled out his brand into Horror Zone 607. He's going to have Jimmy Gazdick from Floodlands on. He's going to have Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling on. He's going to have Rich from 3 Fat Nerds podcast on. He's going to have a stellar show on, so definitely check it out on the ODPH network. We're going to have it on Wednesday night as we are recording this week. So give it a shout. Make sure to hit Mike up on Twitter at HorrorZone607. He wants to hear from you guys what he's going to do with the show. We can't be more excited to help our buddy out and definitely bring another good voice to the podcasting network. That's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition. See you next time.